Okay, I think we're live now.
Yep, my notification just came up.
All right, cool. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of Scream Stream. Oh, let me mute my thing there. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about Resident Evil. Who doesn't love that, right? We just had a new Resident Evil movie come out, and so I thought, hey, this would be perfect. And I thought, who better to talk Resident Evil with us than Tim from TheLateReviews. So Tim is here, and we are so happy to have him. Always awesome to have Tim here. But yeah, CP is supposed to be joining us. He's running a little late, so hopefully he'll be able to make it. But first, before we get started, I'd like my guests to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Zach.
One of the hosts here at Scream Stream, and I run the Zack vs. Blue Mountain YouTube channel. Used to be solely about collecting, but I do a lot of movie reviews now. And I reviewed the entire Resident Evil series, the whole playlist.
Awesome. Go check that out, guys. Go ahead, Tim.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for having me. This is a real treat. Probably the highlight of my Sunday. I review movies right now. I've been really enjoying a format where I just review movies in 3 sentences because it's super easy for me, super easy for other people to watch. And I recently have just rewatched all of the Resident Evil films. I love me some Mila Jovovich. She's my number one. And I've never played any of the Resident Evil games, but I love the movies. So
there you go, right there.
Yes.
I think that's the key line right there. He's never played any of the games.
Oh, look who it is.
And I like the movies. Okay. I'm good. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this one. I got a feeling.
I'm ready.
But
let's do it.
Resident Evil, the final offensive movie reviews says, "Oh, CP's here. What's up, CP?" All right.
Welcome to the future, Lee. I said that 2 minutes ago.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the YouTube page and it's behind. So that's my bad. Oh my goodness. Okay. CP, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Oh my God, really? Hi. Hi, I'm CP. I'm an alcoholic.
Goodness.
No. Will I Like It Reviews. CP. What's up?
I'm CP from Will I Like It Reviews, and I shoot on a couch.
What's up, everybody? I'm CP from Will I Like It Reviews. And, this is Tim, who's also CP from Will I Like It Reviews.
Yes. Have a day.
Yay!
Have a day. Hope I don't offend anybody.
A giant wink.
Yeah. Okay, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. CP, did you see it?
No, but I've heard enough to know that I'm not missing incredibly much, but I don't care if it gets spoiled.
Okay.
I think I know the catch.
The catch. Okay. Well, first let's talk about the final chapter for about 5 minutes. I guess I'll go ahead and start. I saw it, and I was really excited. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, and I saw it Thursday night, opening night, and it's one of those movies, like, it still had the action and everything, but I think it might have tried to put too much into the story to go out with a bang, and it got lost in the editing, like really lost in the editing. I had some fun with it, but it's definitely one of the worst of the franchise, I'll say. My least favorite is still Retribution, but it came damn close. I will say that. Like I said, I still enjoyed it, but wow, definitely some problems there. And I'm sure that Zack, I'm gonna let Zack really take the mantle on this one, because his review, if you haven't seen it, go check out Zack's review. He just unloads on this movie. Much better than I did. I was far too kind to it. So anyway,
you were practically handing it early birthday presents.
I was. I really was. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes we do that, I guess. But also, it's another case of, like, sometimes I'll review a movie and then right after I see it, it's still kind of percolating, and I make the mistake of sitting down and going ahead and doing the review. But after it percolated for a while, I was like, that was crap. So yeah. Zach, go ahead and give your thoughts.
Are you sure we don't want to get another pretty slightly positive review from Tim?
I can give that. That's fine. Yeah, I liked it for what it was.
Okay.
I have to admit, I was fully engaged the entire time, and it had a bit more tension than some of the other Resident Evil films. It felt more like a horror movie than, Retribution is probably the most action-based one, aside from, I guess, Afterlife and Apocalypse as well. But this felt a little bit more intense, a little bit more dark. There was a lot of scenes at night. I liked it for what it was. I felt like there was a moment towards the last act where I was like, oh shit. And they didn't do what it should have done. And I saw also the biggest problem with the Resident Evil films, and this one led right into that, was they always start from zero every single time. They never pick up from where it should pick up. Retribution ended perfectly in the White House, and she got her powers back, and then literally they had a great setup, and they just took it away and they started fresh, and they literally made a whole new movie. And it seems like they're just backwards writing each film. So in that regards, I didn't like it, but I would definitely watch it again. I would definitely pick it up. It's better than Retribution for sure, and I still think it's better than Extinction. So I liked it.
Ooh, wow.
I don't think it's better than Extinction.
Extinction's boring.
Oh,
but
wait
yeah.
till we do our top threes. Okay, Zach, go ahead.
Okay, so small story. For Christmas, I got a Regal movie card, loaded up with money so I could go buy go to the movie theater. I am glad that I didn't spend any of my actual money on this movie. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated the movie. And I rarely ever say that about anything. I'll go into any movie with an open mind. I give any movie a fair chance. That includes The Crow Wicked Prayer, which is synonymously bad. The acting was terrible. The editing, good Lord, the editing was so bad. I literally had to look away from the screen. I'm sorry. Whoever they had do the editing, it was terrible. Any action scene that I watched was almost impossible to look through.
I thought a fifth grader did the editing.
Yeah, sometimes that may not be the editor's fault. That could be a lack of coverage. That isn't always the editor's fault when they have quick cuts like that. That means that they really didn't shoot entirely well. But I didn't see it, so I'm just sticking up for editors. Sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, they had the same cinematographer. They had the same cinematographer, Glenn McPherson, that was on the last two films. And even though Retribution is bad, it's still shot competently.
Yes.
The final chapter, aside from the editing, the camera work had this weird, like, almost documentary style focus. And they kept zooming in to every single fucking time. And it was weird. It was like, we want you to feel like you're in this. Like,
well, there's one scene that I'll pick out right now where Doc gives Alice this like medicine liquid.
Green herb? No.
I couldn't even concentrate on the scene because it's supposed to be like this tense scene where she doesn't know what's in it, but the camera keeps moving around and stuff. And I couldn't. I'm like, oh, what is this, man? They're just talking.
Yeah.
Keep the camera still for like 2 seconds, please. And the people behind me were into it. I couldn't understand. I didn't.
Dude, there are people in my audience. So I stayed late after work. I got home late because I watched this movie. And I was I was impressed with it. I did enjoy it. But there were people being like, woohoo! Like in the theater, like literally like this was like the coolest movie experience they've ever had.
Oh, I had people buying tickets asking for Residential Evil.
Yeah, I love that.
I have no disrespect to anybody's viewing pleasure. But if you like incomprehensible to figure out action, and this is your movie.
Hmm.
There's maybe one scene in this movie that's genuinely terrifying. One.
Which one?
Well, the whole movie's terrifying.
Well, yes, the whole movie's a fucking nightmare. But the scene where Alice is down in that laboratory, like where they were doing the experiments, and that one creature comes after her.
Oh yeah.
There's one scene, but the way that they shot, I couldn't tell what anything looked like. Nothing.
It was very dark, very, very dark.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the use of characters? Because when you give a character a poster, they better be in the movie for the whole thing. Like, you know, Star Wars did it great, right? You know, they gave Rey her own poster, Kylo Ren, Finn, Princess Leia, like Han Solo. They're all in it for equal amounts of time. This movie gave Ruby Rose her own poster, and I loved her in XXX3, and I was very, very excited to see what she was going to do in this. And she was only in it for maybe 5 minutes.
She had 30 seconds of character development.
I don't even remember her in the movie.
She got more character development than one of the other characters that's very important to the end of the movie. Like, I know it's supposed to be a surprise, but the writing in this movie is terrible.
Terrible.
It's terrible. I'm sorry.
Claire
I'm not a
didn't-
screenwriter by any chance.
But
That
you know what?
movie
It
is
does
bad.
have a lot of similarities to the previous Resident Evil movies in that you have really crappy characters, you have painful dialogue, and also it has great action like the previous movies. Well, I don't want to say great action, but it has action for action's sake. You know what I mean? And if I had to give it a positive, I was never bored.
Yeah.
I was. My eyes were like fully like aroused. During the whole movie.
Your
Like, what the hell
eyes
is
stayed
going
on the
on?
screen. Mine couldn't.
Yeah, I was never bored. So if anything, I guess I got to give it that. But man, it sure is fun to talk about after.
I felt like I felt like this was actually the most goriest one, maybe aside from Extinction. The zombie kills.
Yeah.
I feel like in this day and age, zombies are a thing, right? Like we have Walking Dead, you have all these other crappy knockoffs, and you can tell Paul W.S. Anderson was like, "Shit, we gotta we gotta keep up with like what people really like about zombies." So they went back and kind of made like there were so many times where I'm like, "Damn, this could be Rick." You know, like he could be doing all this shit. They were chopping off zombies' heads halfway, and
Yeah.
it just felt a little bit like a cry for help.
What's crazy to me is they had a year because Mila got pregnant, and so they postponed it for a year, so could work on the script.
Oh no, not Wes Anderson.
Well, I mean, Paul W.S. Anderson. So the W doesn't stand for Wes.
Dude. Paul William Anderson.
William, that's it. Billy Boy. Okay. Big difference.
I want
would
to
love
see
to see a
Wes
Wes
Anderson Resident Evil. I really want to see that.
A Wes Anderson
Bill Murray
horror
in it.
movie. Anything.
Yeah.
Just give me something.
Yeah.
Lots of pastel colors.
I'm down.
There's a lot of talk in the chat about if they reboot the series, will they go the game route? Because that's the biggest complaint about the Resident Evil game fans is that this doesn't, do the games justice. So do you guys think that they'll go the game route and try to be more faithful to, the plot of the video game? Or do you think, will there be an Alice if they do reboot the series? Because they'll probably reboot the series. That would be my guess.
That's something to get into after our top, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was thinking because I see a lot of it in the chat, I figured I'd jump right on that real quick.
Man, if you want, that's fine.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump on that real quick just for the next 5 minutes. What do you guys think? CP, do you care if they reboot the series?
Well, it's Sony, so they kind of need something.
Yeah.
Between this and Underworld, they're basically the same property, just rinse, repeat. I think that the video game needs to figure itself out first. I mean, we just had the 7th one come out, which is finally going back to their horror roots. And oh my God, I've only played about 45 minutes of it, but it's classic Resident Evil.
Nice.
So fans of the game need to figure out what they're fans of, because I mean, you could have somebody who's 20 years old that only knows Resident Evil the video game as, you know, running around and shooting, not survival horror, because the last couple of Resident Evils after 4 were mostly just, you know, action games. So I think people need to figure out what they're talking about when they say that it needs to trace itself back to the game. And it needs to just, it needs to, I don't care if the characters, like you said, Alice, I mean, they dumped characters just for the sake of having characters. Like, what was it? Was it the last one where they had Barry and Claire? Well, Claire was in a bunch of them, but they Jill Valentine was in.
Yeah.
Was it the second to last one? Like it's just like, here's characters from the game. Isn't this awesome? And
Resident Evil 5 was coming out at the time, so it's like let's get this really iconic character from the game and throw her in there for no fucking reason. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little.
No, you're dead on. I think that the closest any of the Resident Evil movies got to the game was the second movie, and I actually kind of dug that. It may be my favorite Resident Evil, but like that didn't. I mean, it had the villain. That was the big deal that it had from the games. Otherwise, it wasn't. You know, it wasn't really tremendously traced to the game. Like you don't need characters. You just the spirit of the thing. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm done. I'll get off the soapbox. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay.
Okay, Zach, go ahead.
So I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil game series. I have all of them, minus the new one, and plus I heard the new one has a completely new story. So
it's really good.
So basically, the 6th Resident Evil was the last of the classic Resident Evil characters, and the new one was a new set of characters, which I'm completely okay with because Capcom's going back to that survival horror type thing.
Oh, and there's so many homages to horror films too, dude. I've only played 45 minutes. I've noticed an Evil Dead reference and a blatant Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 reference. Blatant.
Yeah, definitely. From what I've seen from gameplay online. But if you ask me, the way I would do it would be completely rebooted. I don't want anybody from the actual movie series coming back. And realistically, if they do reboot Resident Evil, it probably won't be until 2020 or later.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, I would do adaptations of the book series. Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil, The Umbrella Conspiracy. S.D. Perry wrote all these books. It's a perfect novelization of the first game. And there's all your character motivation right there. It's got a very simple story. It adds intrigue. And it uses the tension that the first game and second game and even the third game had. There's tension in the fourth game too. But that's the start of the, going into action with the over-shoulder, pump action shotguns and stuff like that. But that's the way I would do it. I would strip it down. I would make it independent. I would get rid of the huge Hollywood budgets because they have no idea what they're doing with it. They wanted to make an action series, which they did. Big, dumb, fun action. But you alienated everybody that loved the game series.
Yeah, big mistake. Tim, you and I, we both don't play the games.
Yeah.
But what do you think about getting rid of Wes Anderson, getting rid of the Alice character, and just starting anew with something fresh? I would be curious with a new director. What do you think?
So I also, I like action movies. I think that's why me and you are not we're not offended that it's totally off. Like, I've seen gameplay of all the games and stuff like that. Like one of the ones I think of a lot is the one on GameCube with Leon, where you have to do all the button, 4. Yeah, the button mashing to this. It's like Dance Dance Revolution, but with buttons where they tell you to do shit. I think that seeing gameplay of the games, I would love to see a dark and gritty, serious horror movie. And the first Resident Evil, actually does mimic the camera angles of the original game, where these really high up angle characters and they're walking towards, but all that is just influence. Like I've seen some behind the scene footage with Paul W.S. Anderson and the people that did the director who did Apocalypse as well, and they said like we didn't want to just make like a reiteration of the games. They wanted to make a fun and enjoyable action movie, and they did that. But I think if they do reboot it, it would be great to see the fans take, because dude, I don't know how much I can take of the fans pissing and moaning about it any longer. That's all I hear. It's like we all know there's 6 movies in. Get over it. We all know it's never going to be like the games. So
I'm afraid I can't do that, Tim.
And like I said, the games themselves don't exactly follow a similar genre style. So it's really hard. Like, all right, so when you're saying they need to go to the game style, which games are you referring to? Because the first couple are survival horror, the next couple are Dance Dance Revolution with buttons, like you said, and then there's a couple that are just straight action. So it's like, so when you're talking about the games, which ones are you referring? It's a good point.
I would love to do a serious
1 through 3,
a slow burn horror movie. Like, might as well give it a shot. Go totally opposite from what we've already been given.
I've said this to more than one person. I think Fede Alvarez should direct a Resident Evil film.
Yeah, I would totally be down for that. I agree with Tim though. I think I don't play the games, but from what I hear, I know the games have such a rabid fan base that it would be cool for them to actually try something different, go really dark, get a director like Fede Alvarez, and just make something completely different. So that way we have something different to go to, I guess. And so if fans of the Mila Jovovich franchise will have that, and then you could create some new fans with the. So I think it's a good opportunity based on how much hate you have for the movie franchise. Because usually when they reboot something, people piss and moan about it because the original is considered great, and this is not the case with this franchise. So I think a lot of people would actually be curious about a reboot.
I wonder though, because at the end of the final chapter, it's like the end ? And it makes me wonder, like, are they just going to keep pumping out shitty movies to keep the rights and never eventually make this reboot?
Well,
like Hellraiser did.
It's shitty writing, is what it is, and it cheapens the whole franchise. Everything, all the promotional material has been for, this is the last one. We're doing the last one. And they said that in Underworld too, where they were like, this is the end of Celine's story. And then I get on Wikipedia and it says that she signed on for another film. So it might have to do with Sony having no idea what they're doing with anything.
Video says Negan is Paul Anderson in real life. It's finally out. Awesome. Oh man, that's the biggest thing. Got to get rid of Paul Anderson.
If you want my dream Resident Evil movie, which will probably never happen because the man has a million freaking projects, Guillermo del Toro. I just want to see his production design in Resident Evil. I want to see the mansion through his eyes, because I think it could be gorgeous. If anybody's seen Crimson Peak, you know what I'm talking about. He does wonders with production design, and anything that has Guillermo del Toro, involved with, Doug Jones is going to tag along. And I want to see Doug Jones play the tyrant from Resident Evil 1. Or just give me one zombie played by Doug Jones. I'm good.
Who's Doug Jones?
He's Guillermo del Toro's right-hand man. He uses him in like all his movies.
Like the other Ron Perlman.
He always plays like some sort of creature in.
He's a stunt
most
actor
of his movies.
And he's done a lot of pretty cool characters.
Yeah.
My
All right,
vote
let's go
is
ahead and jump into
John
the top
Favreau.
three.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got something.
I was just saying, my vote's John Favreau to do the next Resident Evil film. The guy's awesome.
Let's get the director of Swingers.
I like John Favreau.
No, I was making a joke. I really don't like him.
Just
That's great.
Just as long as we keep Wes Anderson out of this. Just keep him out of this.
Yeah, that's that.
You don't want your
I'm
dream Wes
comparing him
Anderson
to Wes
Resident Evil
Anderson.
movie?
Yeah. Okay.
That's talk about two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Paul W.S. Anderson and
Yeah.
Wes Anderson. Great with characters,
Top 3
sucks with characters.
Resident Evil movies. CP, go ahead and give your top 3.
Oh, I thought we only had one to choose from.
Yeah, so I guess part 1 is number 3 on my list. Part 3 is number 2 on my list, and part 2 is number 1 on my list.
Interesting. Zach, what you got?
Mine's gonna be similar. I'm gonna put 3 as 3. Extinction is 3, and I'm gonna put Apocalypse as 2. I love the games, but the first movie, the first Resident Evil movie, is the most confident made out of all of them.
Yeah.
No.
Tim,
what you got?
Mine's 1, 4, 2 in that order. Like 1 is the first one, second one's Afterlife, and then the third one's 2, Apocalypse.
you like that hair commercial, don't you?
I think Afterlife is the most fun. The extra characters are great. I like what they did with Claire, and I love the whole fight scene with the hair commercial scene. I love the quarter shotgun. I don't know. I like
Yeah, the quarter shotgun's cool.
I like Mila Jovovich and Ali Larter. What can I say? I don't know.
There's one thing that took me out of that movie, and that's when the big axe guy shows up. They couldn't have.
Oh, I love that scene.
They couldn't have one
cool.
scene. Just give me one scene where they set the thing loose. It just shows up, and they're like, "Well, what's that thing? Well, we got to kill it now." This is the boss of the second act of the movie. It just.
Well, you have your novelization to read of that. That can make you happy.
I don't have my novelization of Resident Evil 5. They only did the first 3 on an original, and then they did a 0 hour. They didn't do anything past that.
One time I went to a bookstore and I was looking in like the $1 section, and in there was a novelization of Ace Bought It. I'm sure that's an amazing read. Like,
Of what? I didn't catch that.
Oh, of Alien versus Predator.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee, what do you got?
Well, before I give my top 3, I'll talk about Afterlife for a sec, because I think what works for that movie is if you watch it in 3D. Because I have it on 3D. I have a 3D TV, and that's one of the best 3D presentations I've ever seen. And the scene with the big monster and the quarters and all that stuff in the rain, oh, that scene in 3D is great. That's the main reason why I own Afterlife and Retribution, is because they're both great 3D presentations, actually.
Gimmicks, cool.
Yeah, I like gimmicks.
I missed that in 3D, actually. I still never got to see it.
Oh, you need to watch that in 3D. I remember going to Walmart on day 1 when it came, and I got it for like $16, the 3D clear case.
Yeah, the clear
$16. I don't know what happened, but yeah, and it's still to this day one
Nobody
of
in
my best
America buys these.
Blu-rays.
What's with these weird stories? Zach with his Christmas present. You with going to Walmart.
Yeah. Okay, my number 3 is Apocalypse. Apocalypse is fun, different than everything else. I think that's the one, like CP said, that tried to emulate the games the most. I love Jill Valentine, actually. I wish she would have been in more of the movies. Number 2 is the first one. Interesting story about the first one is that it took me 4 tries, I think, to like. Like, I hated the first movie when I first saw it.
Landing strip.
And then I watched it again, hated it. And then I don't know why I even gave it a 3rd or 4th try, but eventually, for some reason, it clicked. and I really enjoyed it.
Man, that's like, I was 12 when that movie came out. And I was still a hardcore fan of the game series. And I didn't have any of the knowledge that I have now with movies. And I loathed the first movie forever. Forever. And then as soon as I started to learn more things about filmmaking and, you know, that kind of stuff, I started to warm up to it. I still don't like it.
It should be the other way around. The more you learn about movies, the more you hate about it.
Yeah, I still don't like. Well,
no, I really hate it.
When I saw it, so I was like, this has nothing to do with the series that I love. Absolutely nothing. And I understand why they did it. They want to appeal to a broader audience, and you know, just make a fun. At the time, I think it was an independent English film. It didn't get financing in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Tim?
Really?
Tim?
Yeah.
Landing strip. Am I right, Tim? Landing strip.
Oh yes, there is many scenes.
Am I right? Come on.
She's so I think actually Retribution and the one before is like the only ones where she's not like nude in the movies.
Is that at the end where she's holding the clone? Because she's technically nude there.
All I remember is from the first one, it's just like, wow, she could have angled her leg a different way, but I certainly appreciate the way she did it.
Let me check my Mr. Skin account, and I'll get back to you on that.
Mr. Skin. Hey, you guys want to hear my number one?
Oh, sorry. Lee,
sorry, Lee. Go ahead.
Okay. My number one is Extinction. It was not directed by Wes Anderson or Paul Anderson.
It was directed by Russell McKay, the guy that did Highlander, which you hate.
I like it. 3 has that kind of Mad Max feel to it. I just love the layout of it, the production design, everything about it. It's kind of it takes its time. I think as the story goes, it's not in a hurry like the other movies are. It feels like it actually wants to settle in, get a good story, get a story out, and then. But yeah, I just love the look of the third one. I like the action in the third one. I don't know. I really enjoy that one. So that's my number one.
The only thing I like about Extinction, because you know I don't like it, and I also, you know, I do like the tone of it. It's closest to a zombie movie. One thing I like about it is that is when Alice uses her powers the most. Like,
yes.
Aside from the beginning of the next movie, that one is like full-blown superhero Alice.
Yeah, but the thing that I actually really like Extinction, and there's a lot of things about Extinction. Like, if you read about what they were going to do, I would have been completely down for that. They were going to bring in Leon Kennedy way earlier. Claire was going to be a main character, like way before, you know, she was a main character in Afterlife.
Yeah.
And she's technically a main character in Extinction, but they have a lot of issues there with characters. But I was completely down for the movie where they showed Alice out in the desert, you know, scavenging for supplies, trying to find people. I'm completely okay with that. If they would have done exactly what they wanted to do, where she met up with Claire, Claire says, hey, I want to try to find my brother. I got all these people with me, and we're going to go to Alaska because that's the last time I heard from him, is that's where he was. That's a much better story than what they were doing for the one that they released.
Yeah.
So I have a theory for all the movies as a whole, and it kind of traces back to the whole, it should be like the video games argument. They're all kind of like mini video games. First of all, because Alice is never after the first one, Alice is a clone. She's just constantly a clone. And that's kind of what video games are, isn't it? Like when you die, you have to restart, and you have basically a brand new experience. There's no real continuity when you play a video game, and all the movies just kind of I forgot who mentioned it. I think it was you, Tim. That it just kind of starts up. Each movie just kind of, never mind the past. We're just doing this all over again, and it's something brand new. And I feel like it's a bit of a detriment to the Alice character, but as a whole, the whole series is kind of like a giant video game because there's no, there's no stakes as far as the Alice character is concerned. Oh, she died. All right, break out on a new one.
Dude, that's like Resident Evil Explained video right there.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is.
Damn. That was like, I never really thought of it that way.
But
That's
it's
good.
so, it's so convoluted. Me and Tim were just talking about it the other night.
I just talked about it. You can't take claim to this.
No, I was saying that it's convoluted.
Dude, I'm kidding.
What happened, Eric? What happened to the little girl from the second one? What happened to Chris after Afterlife? What happened to Ada? Where's Leon? Like, where are all these characters?
Chris,
They just disappear.
I'm pretty sure Chris died, but they never mention it because the way they only explained in very brief detail that when Jill came down and bombed the ship, because the movie for Retribution starts where Alice washes up on shore or whatever, or she gets picked up when she goes into the ocean. I guess Alice also and her brother went into the ocean, but then only Alice got saved, and she was like in prison or something, and she escaped.
What backwoods Reddit file did you read that on?
Well, I mean, that's what the movie said. But also, how much you want to bet the reason they could not get Wentworth Miller was because he's doing a prison break, and
I don't want to be in this shit fest anymore.
no, dude, this movie. I know this movie didn't make a lot of money opening day, but I have a feeling it's going to make a shitload of money. Did you see all the tours that they're doing overseas? Like, dude, Japan, it's going to make so much money. Russia, it's going to make twice the amount of money. They idolize her over there.
Oh yeah, isn't it called Biohazard in
Japan.
countries?
Japan.
Yeah, I think the movie series is called Biohazard. The movie series is called Biohazard over there too, right?
Oh, really? Like an alternate title?
Yeah, it is. You can pull up on Google like movie posters of it that say Biohazard.
That's pretty cool. Well, I don't really understand. Why is it called Resident Evil? The first game makes sense because you're in a resident that's evil. You're in the mansion. But other than that, it's like, does it always take place in like a house?
The first game was Japanese, and the original title for the Japanese game was Biohazard, and they had to change a bunch of things to translate to English, and they decided Resident Evil because, like you said, Tim, and it just kind of stuck. But as far as like Japan's concerned, it's Biohazard. They don't even know what the fuck Resident Evil is.
That's why they put Japan. That's why Japan played a big part. Afterlife, that whole scene with Japan, because they are big fans of the franchise.
I would have been okay with a whole movie set in Japan.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Alice.
No.
Oh,
What do you guys want to talk about then?
How much do you want to bet that now that the Resident Evil series is over, that Mila Jovovich will end up in the Underworld series, and now she has to fight Celine?
I'd watch it.
That'd be sweet.
Sony is salivating at that idea, by the way.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't have even said that because now it's going to happen.
Oh, it'll happen. I would actually welcome some of the characters from the Resident Evil series in the Underworld series.
Oh yeah, I'd be down. Why not? I mean, those are my guilty pleasures. I like both franchises, so I'd be down.
If Ian Glenn's not in the next movie, I would be very surprised.
I want Tim to watch the Underworld franchise. I'm curious to see what he thinks for the rest of the movies.
Tim, have you not seen any of them?
I've seen the first one, and then I just never caught on.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we should do one on the Underworld franchise for an episode down the line. That could be fun.
I'll watch one for that.
I told you to have an outline, Lee. This way it doesn't get all spontaneous.
Hey, you guys cut me off when I said why Alice is a.
Sorry,
are you saying that
sorry.
Alice isn't a Ripley?
Go ahead, Lee. Divulge into that statement.
Go for it, man. I'm ready.
I didn't say I agree with it. No, you know what though? I will, to give her credit, Mila is this thing. She has ran this whole franchise. No, maybe not. But
I mean,
Mila
does she run it because her husband says she does? Or
I was just going to say, I was just going to say, it's interesting how badass a lot of these female characters are when their husband, boyfriend, whatever are the directors. Same thing with Underworld. Hell, same thing with any Rob Zombie movie.
Rob, I was just gonna say
Oh.
that. That
She's
does
a
kind of
great
irk me
Michael
when
Moore.
directors put their wives in movies and make them a badass. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. It's not to take anything away from Mila, and she is a great Alice. Don't get me wrong, but that does irk me when directors do that. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. Tim, what do you
Yeah.
think about Alice? What does she mean to you?
I'm gonna have to answer this as unbiased as possible because you know where I stand. I think I like these movies not because of the story, and I think I watch them purely just because I enjoy looking at her. So in that regard, I think she's great. I think that I like kick-ass female action heroes. I always have. Whether that's, the bride from Kill Bill, Ellen Ripley. I love that shit. So in the long run of like kick-ass action heroes that are women, Alice is sweet. She kicks ass. It's a little it's a little hard to believe. Like in the first movie, she okay, I understand that she's supposed to be a security guard, but they never really go into how much she's trained. Was she a combat she had no special powers. So for her to run up a wall and kick a dog in the face, it just seemed a little bit like believe that, she had all of this skill. And even when she has no powers, she's still like really badass. But when she has her powers, you kind of like believe it and all that stuff. So I think she's a really cool action hero in general. She gets a lot of great scenes. She has a lot of stuff, a lot of characteristics you can build upon to make her really good. And I think sometimes they've missed those opportunities. But I think for the most part, I've enjoyed everything she's been in.
Awesome. CP, what do you think?
No, I really don't. I mean, and I could be a dick and just laugh along, but I'm being serious. The fact that you don't really earn anything with the Alice character, that she doesn't really, there's not much struggle that she goes through. She's injected with this power. That's why she's a badass. Like I said before, she can die, and when she does die, we just get, oh, here's a new one. Here's Alice 007. And there's thousands of her. Technically, we've witnessed, as a character, we've witnessed multiple different Alices. So she's a badass, yeah, but we never really get to earn the experience of getting behind her. There's no ascension to that badassery. It's just, I've been injected with this craziness and now I'm super. And if you don't like it, go watch Underworld. That's basically all it is. She's a badass, and there's nothing else to it. And again, even if she does die, the presto, we get another one. So that there's no stakes. It's just, she starts off as a badass. That's all there is to it. And it really killer music video star. But as far as a movie's concerned, her character's just kind of flat. Sorry, Tim.
That's okay.
It's okay. I agree with a lot of those statements. Like I said, it's really hard for me to like fully, talk about these movies like critically, because I genuinely like them mainly 75% because of her.
Yeah, landing strip. Beautiful.
Okay, I guess I'll go and then I'll let Zach go. Statement. I'm with Tim on. I do enjoy badass female heroines. And for much of the same reason in the 80s, we had Stallone and we had Schwarzenegger. Today, I don't think we have male stars that excite me as much as the female stars do. And I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe it's a paradigm shift. I don't know. But same way with the Underworld for me. I'm a big Kate Beckinsale fan in that series. And that's probably 75% of the reason why I really enjoy Underworld. I buy into the story because I really enjoy that character Celine, honestly, and I think nobody could play her better than Beckinsale. And I would welcome even more female action stars down the road. I can't get enough of it. I love them. I think it's refreshing. You know, females, they have, what's the word I'm looking for? They have another quality about.
That's what I was gonna say.
They have another quality about them that male action stars don't have. You know,
Ability to bleed once a month.
Okay.
The ability to be right about everything.
Well, look at like take Sucker Punch, for example. Like, that movie would not be the same without the leads being female. Like, it almost adds a whole nother level to it. And even like look at Tomb Raider, you know, like that's
Guilty
sweet.
pleasure. I love that movie.
But there's so many, and I think you're right. There are not many like main male people that are just labeled as an action star. Like Mila Jovovich, she does do other stuff, but she's more known for her action roles, like Lilu and Alice, and even that really shitty movie Survivor with Pierce Brosnan. I think like I can't really think of anyone aside from Daniel Craig, Gerard Butler, the Dominic Purcell. Like, there are no like modern day like huge people that get like worldwide releases. Vin Diesel.
Yeah. 7 Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, there are a few of them, but I tend to enjoy the female driven action movies more than I do the male ones. And that wasn't the case in the 80s. I couldn't wait for the next Schwarzenegger or Stallone movie in the 80s. I'm not having that same, like, even the Expendables movies, I don't really get, you know, excited about them like I did in the 80s.
Right, but the problem with Resident Evil is it's more of a Carl's Jr. ad where it's a by that I mean, you ever see a Carl's Jr. ad? It's just a chick in a bikini, you know, with oozing ketchup. What Tim brought up, Sucker Punch. I mean, if anything, that those females, they're just oozing with charisma. There's so many reasons that they're, you know, they're suffering this. They create this alternate world in their head, and the characters are full. There's a lot to chew on with those characters. Where Resident Evil is just, she's been steroided, and now she's awesome.
Well, I like that you brought that up, CP, because I think minus Man of Steel, I think Zack Snyder actually does female characters extremely well. The Dawn of the Dead remake, Queen Gorgo and 300, Wonder Woman, Sucker Punch, an almost entirely predominantly female cast, and they're all strong characters.
Highly underrated.
Watchmen.
Yeah, he actually made her an interesting character because she's one of the least interesting characters in the actual graphic novel. So I guess it's my turn to talk about Alice.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think she works for the first movie, but in the next one, I like what they did with her in the first one because it was all about her trying to discover who she is. And she's like, oh, I have these abilities. I can, you know, jump up a wall and kick somebody. I have no idea how I learned how to do that. And you'd think the logical next step would be for them to try to figure that out in the next movie. But no, she just is a badass for the sake of being a badass. I actually was going to talk about, it was one of my key points that I didn't talk about in my my Underworld review when I was talking about Kate Beckinsale being pretty much a female action icon of the 2000s. We knew who they were back in the 80s. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal, say what you want about him.
I love him.
Was an action icon.
Dude,
his movies, his first like 4 movies were great.
Yeah, definitely. Mark for Death.
As you got into the 90s, we still had those characters. You know, we still had these over-the-top characters like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, but the young guys weren't catching on. And even in the early 2000s with Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, The Rock. The Rock is a great action icon.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis had a couple hits in the early 2000s, but this is about Alice. I need to get back on track. I think she fits for this franchise. I think she fits for the franchise. She knows how to use her body well on camera.
Where is this going?
I'm trying to get a coherent thought here. I had a point, damn it.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, we let a comedian in on the stream.
Sorry,
this is what's going to happen. Where was I going with that? We knew who they were. We didn't have. All right, here's the thing. We didn't have those characters from the 80s and early 90s. And then when you put a male action star into a movie and it doesn't do well, they say, fuck it, we're done. We're not going to try anymore. I love the Olympus Has Fallen series. I like Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen, but they didn't make that much money, so nobody cares about them anymore. If you put Mila Jovovich or Kate Beckinsale in a movie, you know you're gonna sell tickets. They made 5 Underworld films. They made 6 Resident Evil movies, and Mila Jovovich isn't the only reason why. Sienna Gilroy, Ali Larter, even Michelle Rodriguez. I don't care what your tastes are, but yeah, she was in the first one and the 5th one.
I don't know.
But they're gonna sell tickets, man.
I don't know if Ali Larter would sell tickets so much either.
Are you kidding?
Ali Larter.
Dude, she could definitely sell tickets.
Okay.
Yeah,
She sold tickets.
1999 maybe.
Offensive Movie Reviews just made a good comment about, male action stars today. Take, for instance, Statham and The Rock. They're pretty much second wheel versions of the 80s action stars like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, who those guys created that brand. Now, every male action star today is pretty much just what was great in the 80s. There's nothing original really for the most part. So
I'll watch any Jason Statham movie over a Vin Diesel movie. Vin Diesel has one way that he does anything.
A quarter mile at a time.
And like Jason Statham actually has personality. And before he came over here, he was in a lot of quirky British films. I love him in Snatch. He's hilarious in that movie.
Now
he's not a badass.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's not a badass.
No, I wish he would have stuck with those type films. I do like, he is a fantastic martial arts, action guy, but I did like seeing a different side of him in Snatch, before he broke out into action roles. But I think this is probably a good point to start wrapping things up. I want to thank my guests first and foremost. I want to thank everybody that stopped in and got in the chat. And do me a favor and make sure you check out Tim from the Late Reviews, Will I Like It Reviews, and Zack versus the Blu-ray Mountain. I'm going to post links to their channels below. Love cutting it up with those guys. And I'll give you guys the last word. Zack, go ahead.
Check out Will I Like It Reviews at the landing strip on YouTube.
How do you top that?
A shameless plug. Check out my retrospective. I reviewed all 6 of the movies. If you want to see me lose my mind, watch my Retribution and Final Chapter reviews. Because I literally lose my mind. I don't know where I was going. You can find me on all the social media. Zack versus the Blu-ray Mountain.
Okay, CP.
Go visit Zack versus the Blu-ray Mountain on Twitter, YouTube. I seriously, I totally derailed him 3 or 4 times in this episode alone. So give all my due love, give it to Zack.
Okay, Tim.
Thanks, CP.
You guys can find me at youtube.com. Don't forget to put
TheLateReviews1.
www.youtube.com/TheLateReviews1. and
Because he's
putting
number
up
one.
fun little reviews. 3 sentences. 3-sentence reviews. Maybe I'll do a whole franchise. Never know what you're gonna get. So,
Awesome.
and definitely check out all the other guys here too. 3 of my favorite YouTube channels, all in one room.
Liar.
Oh, sorry, 2 of my favorite YouTube channels, all in one room. Because, yeah.
This is on YouTube?
Oh, sorry. This is daily. This is on Daily Motion.
I thought we were on
FTP
Twitch.
server. Twitch.
Oh, man. Lee.
Oh, I think he froze.
He looks like he's deep in thought.
Either that or he's really, really thinking about something.
He's thinking about that landing strip. That's what he's thinking about.
Why'd I let that stupid idiot on the show is what he's thinking. Drawing pictures of Jova strips. Hashtag Jova strip.
I might have just died. Oh, I think Lee's going to try to jump back in.
I hope so. It's his channel.
It's still live too.
Yep.
What did the chat think of Stripovich?
High track. I don't think it's caught up yet. Oh, yeah. Now Lee's gone in the chat. Frozen Lee, LOL. Guys, let's trend hashtag Jova strip.
I'm down.
Get that trending. Everybody in the chat, spread it. Jova strip. Yeah, that's it.
Jova strip.
That's it, Jack. Just spread the word.
She's gonna be in something coming up very soon. She was supposed to do something with James Franco a while ago.